Good morning. You are welcome to ABS TV. Welcome to Good Morning Anambra, our flagship TV show right here on ABS TV. It's the first working day of the week. It's a Monday morning, and we all welcome you to the show this morning. My name is Chidima Oranwa. Of course, today we are kickstarting the show with stories are trending on our national dailies and also ABS website, and some reviewers are already with us right here in the studio, where you get to meet them after this short break. Stay with us. All right, glad to have you back for the show this morning. We have with us as a reviewer the person of us, Jerry Obodo. So Jerry Obodo is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Sir Jerry. You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much for having me in the Anambra, Nigeria. Welcome.
We also have with us this morning Samuel Ololo. Samuel is also a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Anambra. It's good to have us. Danonom, Makisura, and you, Maka, newspaper review today.
All right, quickly we are starting the show this morning with the stories making headlines on ABS website. And the first story we have, Anambra State government empowers women with disabilities under One Woman, One Skill initiative. Yuletide, Anambra State government reassures of effective security network. Anambra State government, WHO, CHAI trained doctors on cervical cancer prevention and treatment. Mrs. Soludo urges Anambra residents to participate actively in the second phase of measles, rotavirus, COVID-19 vaccinations. All right, these are the stories trending on ABS website this morning. So, Jerry, let's start with the women empowerment.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a welcome development and a step in the right direction. Empowering women is, if you empower a woman or women, you empower the nation because, they contribute a lot to the upliftment of the family. So whatever we can do to ensure that they are engaged is a welcome development. So I commend the government, for that, for making that move. And I urge those that are being trained to take it very serious, and so that at the end of the day, they will come out and contribute their own quota to development of the state, and even engage some other hands.
Yes,
that is
very important.
Increasing the number of engaged people and reducing the unemployment. Thank you very much.
All right, very good one. And let's also tell you that you can be part of this discussion ongoing in the studio this morning. All you need to do is just to dial the number in front of your television set and also contribute. All right, Samuel, let's also look at the Anambra State government, WHO, CHAI trained doctors on cervical cancer prevention and also treatment.
I want to see the news trending in ABS site in this direction.
Okay.
I'm looking at it from the direction of the government and needing to build up a holistic social services. All these pockets of interventions, they are good, but I'm seeing it that we need to know a comprehensive social service package for the people. We've earlier talked about the empowerment that we're giving to the women,
yes.
And now we are talking about training that is extended to medical practitioners. In all these are part of what brings development. There should be a template of operations. So it is good that in Nigeria we understand that there are lots of issues that the people have faced. And cancer is one of them. Cervical cancer, surprisingly, is one of the critical issues that a lot of women are faced with. And what every meaningful and serious government will do is when they find out that there are issues, they begin to work towards tackling it and not tackling it with quacks. So for me, I think it's good that they are beginning to, they are moving to train these doctors. It's to encourage the doctors to not just go there, learn for the fun of it, but they should know that this is a call to service. And as they have admitted that they are going to continue to save lives, if they are well trained, then they will save lives.
All right. Let's also look at, Mr. Jerry, let's also see the promise from Anambra State government or reassurance of Anambra State government telling the Anambra that they're going to boost the security architecture of the state.
Yeah, that's a very, very, wonderful step because, with security, you sleep with your two eyes closed, but without security, you leave one open. And without security, the Unitary you are talking about will be a mirage or will be a nightmare. So I want the government and the governor to step up the game, like I mooted some time ago, using technology, to capture some of these hoodlums or undesirable elements in the society, wherever they are, so that before actions are done, the CCTV camera and all that, we capture them, and they will be nipped in the bud. But so far, so good. It's been doing well, but there's some one-off, sporadic attacks, like last weekend. Happened at Aguata area. But as we move into Yuletide, I want him to step up the game, and make sure that all these security breaches are nipped in the bud so that people coming from far and near and wide for the Yuletide, we, enjoy themselves. Thank you very much.
All right, also quickly, let's go to our first paper under review this morning. That is the Punch newspaper with the banner headline, "The National Carrier Domestic Airlines asks a court to terminate federal government Ethiopian deal." And we have the riders under it as Air Peace Asma, Airlines seek withdrawal of Nigerian air license. AGF Malami, Ethiopian Airlines, Rika, Nigeria Air listed as defendants. Rising inflation drives consumption spending to 57 trillion naira. COVID-19 orphaned 371,000 Nigerian children. CBN releases $3.5 billion for foreign education under Buhari. Why Nigeria may top cholera cases worldwide again, NCDC DG. And that in front of the Punch newspaper, you can see debate. Presidential candidate lambasts federal government for corruption and insecurity. Flood affected 3.2 million Nigerians, 1.4 million displaced, the UN. And Celestial Church sacks the guard, apologizes for attacking a Punch newspaperman. All right, these are the stories trending in front of the Punch newspaper. Let's start with you, Samuel.
Okay. The thing is, when we look at what is trending, as what Punch has just shown, and unfortunately, these things are not just numbers. We have a way of saying 1 million persons, 1,000 persons are out of poverty, 1,000 persons are out of school. For us, there are numbers that we are calling. But when you go back home, there are people who are really, really affected. And many times, these people can barely have means of livelihood. And my concern now is what COVID-19 had done. The number of children that it had orphaned. What is the plan of the government? Many times we talk about, I for one have said, when we come to development, what are development indices that a government, that the citizens should even use to score a government? And when you say this government is the government performing because you are benefiting from the government, or are there core indices that a government should look at, and when they are working, then say they are performing? For me, these children, if the government do not run to help them or to their aid, the government is not performing. So the government must, many state governments and even the federal government, they've sent their budget drafts to their respective House of Assemblies. These issues, how are they trying to capture the interests of these orphans into the budget, and not just calling humongous prices or humongous amounts? So for me, it's opportunity that since this has come to the public, government at all levels needs to take care of the children, needs to ensure that they get adequate education. And the unfortunate thing is, this is a capital project. It's very, very intensive. It's not just a one-off activity. You need to cater for their education. You need to cater for their health. So that is why we are calling that the social service sector of the country must be working, so that any child who is sick would not necessarily just depend on their parents. And now, since these people don't have parents, what is the makeshift program that the government will be running for them? These are important, so that when these people are calling themselves Nigerians, they're calling themselves Nigerians, hitting their hand on their chest, that Nigeria can take care of them. Because if Nigeria does nothing, if the government does nothing to take care of these people, we are ending up compounding the security situations in the country, because man must survive. And if they don't have anything to do, who knows in whose hand that they will find themselves.
All right. Thank you so much for that submission. Sir Jerry.
Yeah. On the same topic.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Like my colleague rightly said, the government, the federal government and the state government should look at what are the permanent solutions to problems that crops up. Is it ad hoc, chasing of the matters? Every time you do ad hoc, why can't we do permanent solution to the matters? For instance, like we are talking of these floods and East Menace. Every year it comes up and we do ad hoc thing, create IDP camps, plead for, some interventions from even the World Banks and all that and all. And, people donate food here and there. Why can't we look at a permanent solution to this thing? We have said, look, since it's an annual thing, do a dam, to checkmate this, do a dredging of the river across the area, do a permanent resettling of these people living in that area. But you will see that they will relax now when the thing recedes. Next year we begin to talk about that. So it is in this orphan children and all that. The hospitals and the equipment, are they there? Or do we just wait until the thing come up and consumes a quantum of people? Why can't the government think of getting the equipment, the vaccination materials, everything, so that at the brink of that disease or infection, you just tackle it and nip it in the bud? Because if you are not prepared, the thing comes, it will consume a lot of people. Like we have orphan children now. Then that is one. Then the other one is how do you take care of the orphan children, like you said. That's part of corporate social responsibility of the government, both the federal and state. They should take inventory of those people and ameliorate their problems. Thank you.
All right. Next paper this morning is a Delhi Independent newspaper. The big story in front of the Delhi Independent: dollar sell-off temporary, be wary in coming weeks, analysts. And then we have under it, alleged behind-the-scene intervention by CBN. And editors end the conference in Owerri's call Uzodimma's administration high. Leave Uzodimma to do his good works, Bishop Amato tells detractors. Wanted drug baron arrested as NDLEA nabbed a woman linked to Pakistani cocaine syndicate. And you have attacks on INEC offices. Serap asks Buhari to arrest perpetrators. Buhari condemns bomb attack in Turkey. Returns after UK medical trip. $460,000 drug money for future. PDP moves action against INEC to knock Tinubu out of presidential race. Tinubu will contest, win 2023 presidential poll, APC tells PDP. And then up there, we still can see story about the redesigning of the currency. We are committed towards protecting unbanked and undeserved. This is coming from CBN. AFC wants politicians not to overheat the polity. All right, these are the stories trending in front of the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. Samuel, should we start with the big story, the dollar sell-off?
Okay, for the dollar, it's interesting how this conversation is going. And unfortunately for us down in Nigeria, all what we know is the Naira has been doing poorly, has not really been performing well, of course, for obvious reasons. And both the monetary policy of the central bank and both the fiscal policy of Nigerian government, and we have the politicians having a serious play here. But good enough, we welcome the move by the central bank to reface or to redesign the currency. I think this is part of what is making this instability that we are seeing. A lot of it will continue to happen because we know over time there are lots of money that have been stacked because of 2023 election. But now everybody is confused. They don't even know what to know. Then to worsen the whole situation, the United States have also given their own verdict that any currency that is bearing beyond 2021, they will not also use it. So I know politicians will always look for loopholes where they can try to cut corners. But I wonder how far they will get along with this. But this is for me calling on Nigerians, especially those running Bureau de Change, that Nigerians have suffered enough. And by our actions and inactions, we are making things unnecessarily difficult for the citizens. The Yuletide season is here. It doesn't even feel like this is November. Neither does it feel like we're entering December. Everywhere is just calm. And we have people who should contribute. Nation building is everybody needs to come in to build a nation, and not just it is only for the government. So both those in the private market, both those the central bank, we are expecting that everybody should be patriotic. We need to see what we can do to continue to build the country called Nigeria, not just for ourselves alone, also for our unborn children and the children yet to come. For me, that is at that level. Let me quickly look at what INEC is doing, because for me, I'm using this opportunity to condemn the continuous burning of INEC offices. It is unspirited and it is un-Nigerian. Calling the president to arrest those who perpetrated this act, I don't know if I would join in that, because we could remember one time that our own INEC office here in Anambra State, just behind us, sometime was burnt. And I don't think the government said these were the people that did it. So that also goes deeper to further question the kind of security architecture we have in Nigeria. Why would these things keep happening and perpetrators get away with it? And I know INEC has had several meetings with security agencies who keep assuring us that they are ready. And all these things happen, they don't even tend to get anybody. So we want the security personnel to come out, if not necessarily giving Nigerians their security details or what they intend to do, but they should let Nigerians know, if you see this, report to this. These are what we are going to do. These are measures we are going to put. Because 2023 is very, very important. If we don't get it, we don't know what will happen to the dollar-naira relationship. If we fail it, we don't even know what will happen to the existence of Nigerians in Nigeria. So that is why we must protect INEC to make sure they work and deliver efficiently.
All right.
let me add to that. Let me tell you, Chi, that this dollar to naira thing we're experiencing, if you have a good leader, that's one for the good of the country, I can tell you this naira to dollar will come down. And there are certain things that can happen, and it will trigger a brought down of this naira to dollar. I give you an example. When the former CBN governor, our own dear Prof. Soludo, who is the governor of Anambra State, he took the bull by the horn and made the naira to a dollar to almost, I don't know, 2 naira or to a dollar or 3 naira to a dollar, and changed the narrative. Do you know what happened? The president at that time, Yar'Adua, having seen that some of their people are benefiting, or most of their people are benefiting from that dollar thing through the parallel market or black market thing, and all that policy which Soludo wanted to make this dollar to naira, because it needs a control. So I can tell you that if a very good leader and who wants the interest of the country comes in, this naira to dollar thing, you see a new turnaround on that. So it's just that some of the people are benefiting, and it's a bit lukewarm attitude to tackling the matter. So that's what we are getting. And I support my colleague on the INEC issue. Nigerians should know that the 2023 election is not business as usual. I want them to exhibit some, reasonable level of hope that we get it right. Let us use our vote to vote out the people that are very unpatriotic, that are putting the country into the mess, and bring in a good leader who is dynamic and capable, not the recycled old men and all that. So that this country, we have enormous natural resources and a human capital to make things work. Look at the countries that don't even have the oil and some other mineral resources doing well. Their hospitals are working. Their energy, electricity is working. They have every shelter, everything is there. But look at Nigeria wallowing. Its country, men and women in abject poverty. So let's not burn the INEC offices or destroy the things that they will use to conduct the election. It will also make impoverish us more, because the government will now use the money that they could apply to some other thing to replace those things that are burnt. So let's stop doing that. Just make sure you have your PVC and get ready for election 2023. Thank you.
Let's go over to this day newspaper this morning. In front of the This Day, we have as a banner headline, at Arise Presidential Town Hall Series 2, candidates have on economy and security. And we have the writers there. So Showeri, I will ensure new constitution is evolved. Adebayo, wrong security architecture responsible for our woes. Sunny, rule of law, antidote to economic poverty. Umadi, my commitment to state police sacrosanct. And then up there, $460,000 for feature. PDP considers legal actions to stop Tinubu. Says Section 137 of Constitution makes APC candidate ineligible. Insists presidential hopeful must address nation on allegation. Go to court. Lagos governor is unstoppable. Ruling party fires back. Let's unite to recover our country, Atiku urges Nigerians. Naira redesign, CBN moves to protect unbanked vulnerable in rural communities, says banking public response to policy positive. Okay, And then, all right, these are many more other stories trending in front of the This Day newspaper. Samuel.
Okay, for me, it's interesting that in Nigeria we are beginning to advance in the way we carry out on campaign activities in Nigeria. I know before now, what we used to see as campaign activities are politicians going from place to place, visiting people, eating corn, eating granite, frying, just those kind of funny things. And here we are talking about town hall meetings now. Interface, giving room for Nigerians, the citizens, to listen to the 18 and all these politicians who are coming out, presenting themselves to serve us. And this is an opportunity for us. The funny thing is, regrettably, is we've not really solidified that system or that process where there will be detailed one-on-one discussions or interface between the citizens. For us, we know these things happen, and we know there are Nigerians in Abuja where most of these things happen. Why that activity is happening at the national stage, it's also necessary that we need to have that kind of conversation too at every state level. And constituency should clue in from that. We need to engage both at the House of Assembly candidates, not just only the presidentials. But it's good that we have started that process. And we are urging every party loyalist and then the party candidates to make themselves available. That means there are things they hope to offer to Nigerians. So they should not run away from it. When the citizens, when their constituencies call them, when the people they want to go and serve reach out to them, they must make themselves available. That is one. And on the conversation concerning security and economy, I think this is the strong bedrock of every country. If you check well, America is what they are because of the kind of security that they have and then the large economy that they have. It helps them, or that they use to play their global politics. And for the candidates to begin to talk about all this, it's interesting. However, I would want to call that we need to really be very, very serious about issues concerning data capturing in Nigeria. Our data register is questionable. And good enough, by next year, National Population Commission is talking about census. And this is an opportunity for us to, at least, first of all, get the exact population of Nigerians correctly. Because when you don't know, there is no way you can plan. There is no need inflating these figures. For crying out loud, Nigeria will be good if everybody is mean and determined to make it good. There are no need for sharp practices. So as we are talking about the economy, as we're talking about the security, there are already standards for these things. So we are urging the candidates, even those who would not win. That does not mean they should become divisive. They can continue to give in their constructive argument to see Nigeria work. But issues concerning the economy is a welcome development, and we are willing to continue to listen to them to know how they are going to make the economy work. Issues concerning security, of course, for a long time now, we have been battling with insecurity in virtually every regions of Nigeria. We want to see how they can talk about working on it. But there is one nexus, something that would intertwine the both conversations together, which is governance. And that is why we keep calling for good governance in Nigeria. So, come 2023, Nigerians, we know we want a better future for us. So, if we put in the wrong persons there, then they cannot give us that good governance that we want. But if we put in the right people, we are sure that the journey towards getting good governance will become a reality. And there is no other way of doing it other than having a permanent voter's card, going out there, voting and ensuring that our vote counts. We cannot get the right candidate sitting at home or merely complaining.
All right. Thank you for that. So, Jerry, I wanted you to also lend your voice to what is going on, the story hovering around the presidential candidates of APC, talking about the forfeiture of $460,000 drug money. And now, in front of this day, we saw under it the riders where PDP are insisting that the presidential hopeful must address the nation on allegation, and then APC coming up that they should go to court.
Going back and forth, I know that's what will be happening, and there will be confusion everywhere in their camps until we get to the election, and possibly the party that has little or no confusion and that has indicated interest in coming out to the debate or the dialogue. If some of them are afraid because of the term debate, because some of them may not be very fluent and all that, let them call it dialogue, so that they won't be running away. Dialogue or discussion, So most of these presidential candidates run away from coming out to to give the people they are about to govern what they intend to do. How would they approach it and all that, Like you rightly pointed out, if you have evidence against, if PDP has any evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt the fact that the APC presidential candidate has done this or has done that, they should go to court and prove it beyond reasonable doubt. And by the grace of God, if the court finds it, tenable, they can use it to, dispense justice equitably to him, because you cannot. It's not what anybody can just go and say, APC, you go. No, it's the court that can determine that matter. So if they have any evidence, then they go to court and present it before the court, so that if the court finds it cogent, that can make the presidential candidate of the APC to be thrown out of that race. So that's the way I look at it.
All right. We have another paper under review this morning, and that is the Nation newspaper. APC, Tinubu remains a solid, reliable candidate. That is the banner headline in front of the Nation newspaper. Fake news won't help opposition candidate to engage Nigerians in diaspora. We shall no longer allow the prevailing recklessness and utter disregard for professional judgment to continue unchallenged. All right, this is coming from APC. Buhari Oshimole, Obi to open projects in Rivers. Senate panel queries Neiti over 960 million naira for 43 officials. Gates Foundation zoned $1.4 billion for agric in Nigeria. Orders. My surgery experience by Vice President Osinbajo. Wike orders not keen on truce with Atiku. Lagos Chief of Staff loses wife, and Democrats retain control of U.S. Senate. Flood shortage, forest crisis push up inflation. Okay, these are the stories we have in front of the Nation newspaper. Over to you now, Samuel.
Okay, I'm taking on still from the last conversation we had concerning the PDP and APC conversation, and for them to go to court. Here, APC is telling us that Tinubu remains a solid
and reliable candidate.
Everybody is hopeful, so they're speaking from their own perspective, and I'm not expecting anything less. But what we are seeing out there, if it is confirmed, then calls for a huge question mark concerning the people who over the years have been coming to say they want to rule Nigeria. And the truth is, you cannot even give what you don't have. And the fear that we have in all this is, one of my friends would always say that in Nigeria, those who are good politicians are not good in governance, why those who are good at governance are not wonderful politicians. And I see these things play out always. Why is it that the kind of characters that we keep bringing out to be the figurehead of Nigeria as a whole are people who one way or the other have questionable attitude? It's surprising. Whereas we have our we know people are, nobody is perfect, nobody is holy. But we have our professors, we have our sound minds at the corner, just most times they're complaining. These things really should spur everybody to begin to come into the race. And I will be interested to know how PDP will challenge this, because the law is there, and if it is not challenged, no judgment will be given. And if finally judgment comes, it helps the system. And today we talk about, of course, we know how P2B, when he went to court, he challenged a lot of things. And today, when you go to office, you can now stay for 4 years. If not, we wonder what would have happened. So Nigerians should just not keep quiet. And maybe, I don't think it's just PDP that should challenge this. We know we have some CSOs out there who really, like Serap, they have been doing these things, and so based on their thematic areas, they can go in, wade in, and not just that they want. They should know. We should not think that we are fighting APC or we are fighting that individual. What we are looking at is we want a sane society, and sanity comes when the rule of law upholds. Because if people, especially whether we like to or not, we know people are settling on drugs, but if whatever that is going to happen to on this case will determine to what extent people will continue to push themselves into drugs. If he goes free because of his money, I bet you people would still be pushing drugs. But if he is found culpable and possibly punished, you see, it will make people know that whatever they are doing today has repercussion in 20 years' time, and it would reorient the mentalities of some of those drug pushers. If not, things will continue to go bad. Then let me also talk on where the APC government, that's the current government, is talking about, they will not begin to take lightly orders of the court, that people not obeying it. It's interesting because when we talk about people who don't obey court orders, they are the ones. Over time, there have been a lot of orders coming up and nothing is being done to them. And it's not good for the system that we are practicing in Nigeria. Why is it selective? A poor man would commit a crime. The next moment, you see truckloads of security personnel. They have come to pick him. But in quotes, the so-called wealthy ones, they begin to look for another part of the law to cover them. I want to believe that we are all Nigerians, and we are all, nobody's above the law, and we are all being governed by the same letters of the law. So nobody should be pampered while others are being hammered. This is part of what leadership calls for. And we need a leader who, no matter who you are, if you fall short of the law, they will open that part of the law. What does the law say? They make out judgment so that everybody would know that a new sheriff is in town.
All right. And lastly, the last paper we have this morning is the Guardian newspaper with a big story there. World Diabetes Day. Over 10 million Nigerians have diabetes. It kills more than COVID-19 and cancer. Then we have there, Udan declares support for COA 6 unity in PDP. Most Nigerians' roads are expired, says FEMA. And then we can still see down there, petrol scarcity, marketers accuse NIMASA MPA of dollarizing transactions. Jerry.
Yeah. Is it the
big story that we can talk about the World Diabetes Day, talking about 10 million Nigerians having diabetes, and this actually kills faster than COVID-19 and cancer.
Yeah, that figure, rolled out is not something to, laugh about. I want to plead to Nigerians to watch the kind of, food they eat. Are they going to checkups? Do they, keep religiously the advice of their doctors. All these things will curb the deaths that are recorded as a result of that diabetes. It's not what you can call a terminal illness. It's a matter that you can manage, and if you manage it well, you live as long as your creator wants you to live. So the people should, watch what they eat, their diet, keep to the instructions of the medical experts as per the medicine and the drugs they are taking, and also go for checks. This will help us to, bring the number of deaths down.
Well, on that note, I want to say a very big thank you to both of you. Sir Jerry, but thank you so much for joining us on the press review this beautiful Monday morning.
It's my honor. The ABS crew, I thank you all for having me and my colleague. And may peace of Christ continue to abide in all of us as Nigerians and as Ndibo. Dalon.
All right, quickly, Samuel Ololo, thank you so much for being part of the show this morning.
And thank you very much, Chidima. It's my honor being here. Ndanambra, this is a new week. Let's continue to be law-abiding and pay our tax. And beyond paying our tax, let us make sure we follow up the government to make sure that they use our tax very well.
And also take care of our health.
That's important.
Well, on that note, we want to say a very big thank you for you being part of the press review this morning. My name is Chidima Orangwa. After the short break, we'll see you again. Stay with us.